Welcome back to HM and Big E. We're trying something a little bit different today. HM actually isn't here, and we have Rob here, our regular contributor Rob, and myself. And today we're looking at a board game. I like a lot of board games. Rob and I play a lot of different board games. We try different things. And we thought maybe for this channel we'd try reviewing board games as well. If you like this review, or if there's other board games you want us to review, let us know in the comments. We'll check it out, and we can review them. So today we're here to talk about Ark Nova. This game came out in 2019. It's been sold out like immediately, and I think I got the second printing, but I think that sold out as well. It's been very hard to get. It's been in very high demand. On Board Game Geek, which is a big website that kind of houses all the board games and kind of different rankings, it's been on the hot list. Basically, people kind of check it out all the time for 2 years now, I think. Mm-hmm. And so this game is a game where each player is designing a zoo, their own zoo. And so there's all these different components. What I really like is on the cards, I mean, we'll go into kind of the details of, there's all these pictures of animals. I'll kind of put them up on the screen. Some are very, very cute, but they use pictures of real animals. So this is kind of like, Zoo Tycoon or Roller Coaster Tycoon, but you're building a zoo.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But there's also some elements of like conservation and that element of it because it's a modern kind of zoo game. I don't know. What else do you have for the intro, Rob?
No, I mean, like, ultimately, the game is very simple. Your ultimate goal is to build a zoo and build a zoo that would probably be the most attractive, essentially.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
There are ways to score points. There are ways to, like, get sponsors, build, they're not called alliances. They're called associations. As you can see, we're thinking about other board games. And I think overall, if you play a lot of board games, a lot of things will feel very familiar in terms of game mechanics.
Yes, the game doesn't kind of invent a lot of brand new mechanics. As with a lot of kind of, I find medium weight, big box, modern board games, they're taking a lot of different mechanics and elements from different games, and kind of, it's how well they put them together. Mm-hmm. And to this game's benefit and to this game's praise, it does that really, really well.
Yeah.
It has a few mechanics that it does borrow apparently from different games, but it's very, very smooth. So let's jump right in to just a general overview of how the game works. We won't go over the rules details. There are many other videos that go into much better details about how this game is played. The manual is fairly long, 19 pages or so. And I remember when I was a little hesitant or anxious about teaching it because it seemed like a big teach. But everything flows very logically once you kind of understand the terminology and the language a little bit. But everyone has a board on which they will be placing kind of little tiles to make their zoos. And so you have different size enclosures, and then you'll have different cards that you'll be playing into your zoo kind of on the side. Some are animals, right? Barn owl here, a snake, and a macaw, birds, and there's big animals and small animals. And then there are kind of, as Rob was saying, there are sponsors, which are kind of like specialists or special buildings that kind of will enhance your zoo. So, and then basically each animal that you bring makes your zoo a bit more attractive. Each of the cards have different icons on it that kind of represent different elements that are within your zoo, and you'll kind of get bonuses for completing a certain number of them. And yeah, the game ends when the appeal of your zoo, basically the attractiveness of your zoo, goes and crosses over with a track that goes the other way, which is how good you are at conserving animals. So again, I'll link in the description to some videos on how to play the game, but that's a general overview of the game. Anything else to add for the general overview of gameplay, Rob?
No, I think you pretty much covered it. Again, check out, other videos on how to play to just kind of get a general sense. But like most games, the best way to learn is to actually just play it.
Absolutely, absolutely. Okay, so what did you like about this game, Rob?
Well,
you like the game.
Yes, I do. I guess I do like this game.
Okay.
No, again, I mean, we play many games before. I like card-based games, games where there's a deck and you have cards to play, because that is, my cup of tea. I grew up playing Pokemon cards, a little bit of Magic, and
Marvel
Champions. So yeah, that's one of the elements I like about this game. I also like replayability. There's a ton of replayability of this game, but the only thing is that I've only tried this game once. I would very much like to try it again just to see whether there are other strategies I could use.
And now, different player counts as well, probably.
Yes. Because like I know the easiest way to score points is just to play animals as you move up on the track. But are there other ways to score points rather than just focusing on animals, right? Yeah. Like, having an association, getting sponsors. I didn't do that much in that game, and I felt like I suffered for that. Right. So I think that's another strength of this game is that there's not just one way to win. There are many different ways.
You definitely kind of need to build your engine a little bit and then have your animal push to get the appeal going. The main mechanic of the game on your turn is you actually have 5 actions that you can choose from, and basically once you use them, it resets back to a lower power level and everything shifts up. So it prevents you from kind of taking one action over and over again, even though you could, but it's just at a weaker and weaker level. So it kind of has a very natural way to force you to cycle through things, which you kind of would anyway. But it's a really good puzzle to figure out kind of how to do that most efficiently, right? I want this at 5, to use this at power level 5. Oh, but this is stuck at 3, and I'll have to use this for, what can I use this for to move this up? And so I like that very much.
Yeah, I found that during our first gameplay. It's like, I need to get this to level 5. Yeah. But that means I have to use all these cards ahead of it, and what am I going to do with those actions? So you have to be very mindful of the actions you're going to take.
The other thing I liked about this is the variety of animals. I've played this probably 3 or 4 times now. I'm pretty sure I haven't seen all the animals. The deck, I think, is 200 and some odd cards. The majority of them are animals. And so, yeah, to your point about replayability, I think there's a lot there. Even the zoo maps, there's different ones that kind of have different individual powers and different starting kind of bonuses and that kind of thing. So I think there's a lot of really good replayability here. I really like the theme of it. And I feel that the cards you play end up telling a good story about your zoo. You kind of know what's in your zoo. The game that we played, one of the other players, built like a petting zoo, and they got petting zoo animals, whereas none of us got any petting zoo animals because we just chose not. And so I kind of feel that his zoo had a bit more character.
Yeah.
And I compare that and contrast that to another one of your favorite games, Terraforming Mars, in which you play a lot of cards. And I remember when I played that game, I wish the cards ended up telling a more cohesive story about my corporation.
Yeah.
As we were developing Mars. And there's really great things about that I loved about Terraforming Mars as well. But I feel here that theme really, really comes through really well. That, I have big enclosures for big animals, a few. And you have a whole bunch of small enclosures and so our zoos feel different. And so I really like that.
Yep. So, shall we talk about,
one other thing I will say that I kind of like about it is, especially since I'm going to try to teach these to my kids. It's a little complicated for them, but they really want to learn, especially my daughter. The conservation angle, which most modern zoos now in real life are kind of tackling that a little bit. How it's not just about keeping animals in cages and conservation in general, kind of wellness of the animals. This game kind of touches on that a little bit, and so I kind of like that. I like that. Yeah. Okay. What didn't you like about this game? Are there anything that you don't like?
Well, I mean, it's hard to really judge just through one playthrough. Sure. But if I'm gonna pick at something, it's gonna be the length. I mean, when we played with 4 players.
Yes.
And it did feel long. It was and it does drag when you have that one player that generally takes their time. Figuring out rather than this, play, because you and I, we know what we're gonna. We plan our steps. We plan 2 steps ahead.
Are you referencing somebody that has been a guest on this channel in the past?
Of course not. Of course not. But again, I think during the first playthrough, I think both you and I share that. Hey, let's just go through it to see what happens, right? Yeah. But again, it does feel like it is pretty long with 4 players.
One thing that I did not like about it, again, I told you about kind of my reservations about, this is such a big teach. And part of the reason is actually, and I think once you figured out the game, it flows really, really intuitively, right? It's like, okay, I do this to do that, and everything flows, but, it flows logically. It doesn't flow intuitively. Yeah. When I first say the word sponsorship and association and how those are different, and wait, what is that board again? It's not intuitive that that board is the association board and the sponsors are the sponsor cards, right? And the petting zoo is a different type of building. It's not, you wouldn't intuitively know that. It's not a natural from the theme kind of to the gameplay. But once you know it, it flows all really, really well. Would you agree with that?
Yeah. I mean, if you look at some of the cards have a lot going on.
Yeah.
Like you have requirements, costs, tags.
Yes.
And then some of them even say powers,
yes.
right? Actually, another thing I didn't really like about the game is the what is this again? The venom and the
hypnosis and
hypnosis. Yeah, those things like kind of like hurt other players, and generally in games, I usually don't like those features. I know some people do because it's one of those gotcha kind of moments, right? But I generally don't like things where it hinders your gameplay. Right. Yeah, they could be annoying. I mean they're not necessarily game changers, but it's just really annoying, which I don't like.
Right. Yeah, I think I placed a venom on you and it lasted there for like 4 or 5 turns.
Yes, that is why it's
and
stuck.
You lost some money.
I lost a lot of money.
I mean, I think that's one negative thing about this game is even if you play with 4 players, or if you play with 2, or if there's a solo variant, the player interaction is actually fairly low. And so I feel that they put those in for those specific animals just to have some level of player interaction. Because outside of that, the only other player interaction is the conservation goals. And, I took this spot slightly before yours, right? Like the Terraforming Mars milestones, right? Or achievements. Once I get it, you can't get it. And that's the extent of the player interaction. So I feel they added a little bit of those just kind of to tack it on. I agree with you, they feel a little tacked on. I mean, the break track is another, again, when I just say break track, if you don't know what this game is, what does that mean, right? As opposed to if I say, you need to place an enclosure for your zoo, and then you need to put an animal in it, that makes sense. But a break track, and the break track, then you remove the venom tokens, and then you clear the first 2 piles of the river, and like what does all of that mean? But once you get it, then it actually okay, yes, we do this, and it makes sense.
And of course, we get income during the break.
We get income during the break, yeah. And so actually, the break is I actually like the break mechanic. I like it kind of breaks up it kind of randomizes. But has this natural rhythm of rounds almost, because or else the game just kind of keeps going.
Yeah.
So I do like that. Okay. Anything else you didn't like about it?
No, I think as of right now, I want to play more of this game.
Excellent. So are there any other games that you think, if for a viewer who hasn't played this game, what other games would they have liked in order that you think that they should try this game out?
Well, I think we've mentioned Terraforming Mars already. Now, Terraforming Mars is one of my favorite games. It is also one of our favorite household games that I play with my wife and kids, right? I think compared to that, there's a lot of familiarity. Like, when you talk about having certain tags, right? It's a feature from Terraforming Mars. The only thing is that I find Terraforming Mars a little bit better is you're working together to terraform Mars.
That central board.
Right?
I agree.
And I'm not a fan of, just having your own board to play. Like, for example, Castles, I shared with you, is
Castles of Mad King Ludwig.
Is a game that is not on top of my list because I don't want to focus on my board. I like, something more communal, right? So I find a lot of similarities with Terraform Mars. And another game I find is very similar, have some similarities, is Wingspan, which is another game that is a favorite in our household.
I agree.
Where, you see the different birds you have and you actually learn about what these birds are.
Yeah.
And it's the same thing with these
that.
animals.
That's a very good point. Yeah, I didn't even make that connection. So, I feel this is a bit heavier than Wingspan. But if you've tried Wingspan, Wingspan's a great game and great kind of even for beginners. It would be difficult for like an absolute beginner who hasn't come into the board game hobby yet, is coming from Monopoly type thing. This would be a pretty big jump right away. But if you've kind of been playing a few of these kind of more modern board games, the initial teach might take a little bit, but once you get it, it flows really, really smoothly. I really like about this game. Those are the two. I mean, I was just going to say Terraforming Mars is definitely the biggest one. But the other one I would suggest is it's kind of like Roller Coaster Tycoon or Zoo Tycoon, I guess is more appropriate, or Planet Zoo, the recent PC game, where you kind of build a zoo and you have to worry about the animals and you don't have to worry so much about their well-being or anything here, but there's conservation and that kind of stuff, elements typed here. But if you kind of like that, if you like animals, if you like zoos and that theme, this is kind of like a no-brainer for you.
Yeah, and just to share, I was at the Toronto Zoo with my son on a field trip, and you know what? As I was going through the zoo, I was like, I kind of want to play Ark Nova.
Yes.
Right?
What is the appeal of this animal? Yeah. Absolutely. Actually, I should lend this game to you. You should play with your family.
Yeah.
So what's your let's overall final thoughts of Ark Nova? What do you think? This is a very there's a lot of hype around this game. A lot of hype around this game. I would manage to finally get a copy, and you've played it once only, but you've played enough board games that you have a good grasp, I think, on how this game works.
I would say this is a very good game with family and friends, right? Like if you like animals, if you like zoos, and you've taken your children to the zoo a lot, I would say this game is fantastic. I would want to teach it to anyone and introduce it to anyone.
Sure. What would be your score out of 10? Putting you on the spot here. I did not tell him that this was coming.
Yes. As of right now, I would give this a 9 with a potential of going higher.
Whoa, going higher. So another gripe that I didn't share about this is just kind of the setup. I mean, the manual is okay. I'm usually picky about manuals because I do like reading manuals kind of cover to cover. I really don't like that once you unpack everything, there really isn't specific storage enough to hold everything. Like, it comes with these plastic trays, and you'd figure all the components would fit in there, but oh no, wait. You could kind of put them all in, and there's a couple of bonus ones and extras that you just have to keep in a separate bag, and I find that really annoying. So that knocks it down a little bit, but the gameplay itself, I agree. This is a fantastic game. 9 is really high. I would give it an 8.5. I don't know if you're allowed to do halves.
Of course.
Yeah, 8.5 out of 10. This is a really good game. A medium weight, long, but a medium weight game that flows really well. I love the theme. There's just some, the timing, and then the non-intuitiveness of because I mean, as an example, Wingspan is super intuitive.
Yes.
Like, oh, this bird needs eggs, needs this type of food, it's all there. Whereas this, you look at some of the icons and go, what is this again? What is this track? Because there's like 3 tracks to keep track of for your own color, and then there's the break track. Like, there's just a lot of things.
But
once you get it,
it goes well.
It flows really logically, and it makes sense.
Yeah, and I think, like you have to look at factor in replayability. I can understand your score of 8.5, and again, I respect your score.
Yes.
But then I can also understand the finickiness of the cubes going here. I have,
which is one of the major problems I have with Terraforming Mars. Yeah. But that'll be in a separate review if you like board game reviews. So that's our thoughts on Ark Nova. Do you have anything other closing thoughts?
Nope.
No. That's our thoughts on Ark Nova. Let us know if you've played Ark Nova, if you were able to get your hands on a copy. Let us know what you think. Let us know about what you think about what we think about. Were we wrong? Maybe it's not finicky. Maybe all of this kind of made sense to you right away. Ark Nova, this is a fantastic game. 9 and 8.5 out of 10. Check it out. If you know us, let us teach you at some point. We'd love to play with you. Until next episode, keep playing board games.
Yes.
You're supposed to say and like and subscribe.
Yes, and remember to like and subscribe.
Thanks so much.